Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for attending today's webinar using AI tools to code in Python. I'm here with my colleague, Chris Pennick, and if you have not had a class or a webinar with Chris before, you are in for a treat. He's a great presenter with very deep knowledge, and we'll be starting in just a moment. Just want to welcome you on behalf of Excel ILT instructor-led training. And in case you didn't know, Accelerate, Exit Certified, and WebAge Solutions were all part of Excel. And combined, we have over 60 years of IT training experience to bring you customized training courses for teams with Accelerate, vendor authorized certification courses with Exit Certified, and upskilling programs with WebAge Solutions. And we all teach a variety of technologies, including data science, Python, Agile, cloud technologies, Microsoft, VMware, DevOps, data engineering, and a whole lot more. And we've got great instructors, including Chris. So if I know it says meet Chris Pennick, you possibly have met him before, but if not, just to let you know, Chris is the director of courseware design and instruction. He's got over 30 years of training experience in the IT industry. And he's a very experienced instructor with deep world knowledge of Python for data science, AI, ML, DevOps, and more. So he's probably the perfect person to be delivering this Coding with AI webinar. And speaking of coding with AI, just to let you know, we do have a great intro to GitHub Copilot training course. We've got a virtual course for individuals coming up June 17th. It's one day live hands-on. But if you do have a team, we can train your team privately and customize the class, for whatever your needs should be. Okay, so I will put that URL in the chat once Chris gets underway with maybe a couple of other add-on courses if you're interested. Today's really just a 1 hour snapshot. Our classes are all hands-on. Okay, so with that, let me go ahead and stop my share. And Chris, I will turn this to you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Let me grab the screen here and get started. I'm going to talk a few things. I was just discussing how this is just a lot of demo, a lot of talk, a lot of trying things. Not so much talk, sorry. And I'm working live, so we'll see what happens. If anything can, to err is human, but to really mess things up takes a computer, right? So I want to talk about a few things before we go in here. We're going to focus on a couple of issues. I mean, of course, probably ChatGPT, right, is the big one that most people are familiar with. And I've got my eye on the question and answer there. I'll try to, if it's something I can work in as we talk here, I will try to answer the questions as we go, but also, I'll save some time for the end to that we can discuss all these things and gab through this. And hopefully you can see all this right here. So you've got OpenAI with their ChatGPT. You've got Gemini from Google, right? So you got Google, and they've got Gemini. Anthropic has Claude, or actually we should probably say it with more of a European accent with Claude. But so the large language models, there are tons of them out there. And for the record, anything I'm doing today, it doesn't have to be Python. I'm just using Python in particular because fairly common programming language. A lot of people are familiar with it, or at least if you don't work with it daily, it's simple enough that we can look at it and see what's happening with it here. So the first set is the models that we need to worry about. The other set of things we need to worry about is the language, which that's actually not too much of a trouble for most of these models because they've been trained on Java, Python, Ruby, Perl, JavaScript, C, C++. It's amazing what programming languages they know, even some obscure ones that I can point you to if you're really curious on this. But it varies depending on which model you're using, whether you're using OpenAI's or you're in PowerShell. Oh, shoot, we can get to write PowerShell scripts, no problem. And we could even try. There you go. And actually, I see that there's a chat window going on here too. So I've got let me give me 1 second to do a little housekeeping. Let me grab this See if I can throw that somewhere too. There we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So Paul, yeah, thanks for the PowerShell. We could do PowerShell in here too. The thing is, so that's the models and the languages. That's the next step. The next piece of this puzzle then is the tools. And in this example, I chose to work with VS Code. All right, simply because it's probably everybody's. Again, if you're a programmer, you've probably touched VS Code or seen somebody use VS Code, and it's out there. In the description for this, I did mention PyCharm simply because Python people like PyCharm from JetBrains, same folks who do, if you've used any of the IntelliJ tools or anything like that, you've been using tools from JetBrains. So I do have it set up here, and it gets further. Then we can kind of refine this. I guess it's the plugin specifically for those tools. So here you can see I've got Copilot sitting here ready to go. It's asking me. And what I actually set up on this, and let's just do this real quick too. We'll hide this for a second. I set up multiple profiles on here so that if we want to compare as we go, Codium, and switch it out. And Codium is another one out there for you to go in and work, integrate into your IDE, whatever you've got. Let's see, I got Codium and I got tab 9, I think, because I also set up tab 9, didn't I? Yeah, tab 9. Okay. So, and there you go. But there's a tip for people too. You might not be aware VS Code has the ability to switch out the profiles like that. And so that changes the extensions and the settings and everything from one to another. So I'll go back to Copilot for now. And it turns on everything back on for Copilot. And just as this example, whenever we're working with these AI tools or this, it's all about the prompting. It's all about so that's the other one I have in the background too. One more here. I have also ChatGPT. And some of you may have access to that. Some of you might have. I've worked with organizations that have their own very specific. My favorite one is I went to some place and they had their own insert corporation name here, GPT, because they had kind of walled off chat built on top of ChatGPT from OpenAI, and then put up a bunch of walls to keep it from going out to the internet too much about things. And understand that, on its own, earlier versions now 4.0 does go look out to the outside world, can do what we, can retrieve things. You might have heard, if you're really geeky, you might have heard this phrase, retrieval augmented generation. It just means that it can look things up. How's that? It can go and get things to help with it generating content for you. And the 4.0 model for ChatGPT does do that. So you can tell it to go look things up. But earlier models, like if you're stuck at your office and they let you use GPT 3.5, it has a fixed date on its knowledge. It knows up to a certain point, can't really go browse the internet without a plugin. But that, I have to be careful saying all this because Sam and crew over at OpenAI will probably change that in the next 5 minutes. Right? It's a very fast moving thing. So, oh yeah, So Ella mixed llama. You can build things with LangChain. I've seen people do some good. I haven't had a lot of success personally with LangChain for coding right now. That a lot of it has to do with what it's been trained on. But then again, you could always work. And I was just talking to a company this morning that we're going to use. We might take our training content to train their model so that it can answer questions for our instructors and students. Long story. Anyway, big work in progress there. All right, so there you go. Oh yeah, so let's talk about a few of these then. I'm just going to give some general rules, no matter what model you're working with. Okay, and so Microsoft likes to refer to this as the 3 S's. I've seen it phrased different ways with different groups. I like the 3S. I like that. That's a good thing. So there's 3 important S's. Oh, TSQL. There we go. Paul, we could do that definitely in here. As a matter of fact, I have a GPT specifically designed for SQL, and we'll talk about that too. So we've got a whole bunch of ground to cover in a very short time. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so first S, when you are creating or you are asking for help, that's a flavor of prompt engineering. And the first S is to keep it simple. Okay. Keep it, people, what you don't want to do, and I've when I play with students in like the Copilot class or something like that, they say, let's write a video game. And that's the request. Write a video game. Well, here's the good news. OpenAI will do that for you. Sure, we could try that. Let's try it real quick. Let's write a game. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Zoom tools keep getting in the way. Let's write a dungeon crawl game. I'll get a little bit more specific. See, so write a dungeon. Can't spell today. Dungeon crawl game. And it'll go to work. Here's a basic implementation. All right. I mean, sure, you could. I don't know how great it is. Dungeon crawl game in Python. So there's a couple problems with that. Keeping it simple. You would be surprised. This is not a great example. This actually did okay. It didn't give us anything dangerous, but you might have heard this phrase, a hallucination, right? When talking about AI. And I have had, this is why I want this to be simple. I want it to be specific is the next one. So I added a little bit of specific. I said a dungeon crawl, but you'll notice that it chose to do Python. That's actually kind of sneaky. I've already set this up to be specific, and I will show you this. Otherwise it might have asked me, or it might have just picked any language. It could have done, hey, there you go. Let's see what we can do with PowerShell, right, Paul? It would have created a game for us with anything. And to do that, it will remember that it's generative. It's generating what it thinks you want to see or hear. So in this case, those of you who know some Python know that there is a random library in Python. All right, but I have seen it write code where it says import dungeon, something like that. There's no such library. It's like, what the heck is dungeon? It completely makes it up because that sounds like what you wanted. Because remember, this is just language. This code is just language like anything else. And if it can generate a resume, if it can generate a PowerPoint slide, if it can generate a script for your, video, it can generate a fake library for you to look at and use because it thinks that's what will fit the problem. All right. It's the most likely answer for it. So we're going to fine tune that. Whenever we give a prompt, whenever we ask for things, whenever we type things to complete, and I'll show you in VS Code in just a second here. We want it to be simple. We want it to be specific. And then we want it to be short. I don't want to try to write the whole thing at once. You can see it didn't really create something that great. We could go try this. We go put this in VS Code in a second here. But we want it to be short or succinct. We want it to be piece by piece. I like to call it building applications with Lego bricks. So as we go through here, we can try something like that. We can go piece by piece, step by step through each time. But our 3 S's, right? Simple, specific, and short on any prompt. Truthfully, ChatGPT and a lot of these other, generative pre-trained transformers is what that GPT stands for. They don't really care about grammar too much. They don't really care about if you're polite with them. But I was going to show you the secret why this one went to Python, because I've been sneaky. I've added some specificity ahead of time in here, and I'll show you. If you go here, and so you'll notice under my settings, there's this little thing that says personalization. Now this is particular to OpenAI and ChatGPT. They have custom instructions. Essentially, this is something that's sent to with every request, every new chat with ChatGPT. For me, it sends this big long list of instructions. And it says, it tells it a little bit about me. I teach data science, I teach machine learning, I teach artificial intelligence. I'm a web design in the US, so it knows location. So it knows that, what things I'm comfortable with these languages. Give me Python, give me SQL, give me C, give me Java, give me JavaScript, HTML, CSS. I like detail. Give me as much detail as possible. Give me step by step. Give me flow charts. You can fill this up quite a bit. So you get 1,500 tokens here. And that's the big thing. So Paul, if you're doing a lot of stuff with PowerShell, you could go in and add some custom instructions that say, I need answers often in PowerShell. Ask, give me steps in PowerShell. Give me what, libraries from PowerShell. Give me whatever. And then notice that when I ask it how to respond, I'm very specific about what formats I want. I want code, I want presentation, I want charts, I want graphs. I'm a teacher. That's the kind of stuff I need. I want to be complete enough that I can not have to do too much editing on my own, and it can call me Chris. And sure enough, it does. If you'll notice, it'll respond back with Chris on things all the time here. And like I said, but should be, and as far as its own opinions, because it has opinions, I have to air quote that, but I tell it to leave those alone. You only see the whiteboard, Agnes. It may just be you. Can everyone see the pop up here? Or the descriptions? See, okay? Should be sharing this whole screen. There you go. Looks black for the interesting. I think that's on your end, hopefully mine, but I can talk some more about it here. Those of you who have, so real quick, I don't know, I guess you could hit it in the chat or something like that. Who's got an account with OpenAI already? That's probably like most, give or take, or at least you've gotten to play with ChatGPT. Let's see how these tools fit in. Not yet. Okay, so for some of you who don't have one yet, and again, realize they've opened up what's available to you will depend on whether you want to give them money. Yeah, Jazz, I understand that. ChatGPT from work is often difficult. Your organization might, have some others available here. But the newest, like I said, so the newest and the most advanced model is what I have here. Now I pay for it. I pay money to OpenAI each month, and we can talk some more about that later. But that's so that I can get to these new models, but also so that I can have this memory on here. Reloading the page. Excellent, Althea. Sorry, I said it right. Athela. Is that right? Close. Forgive me if I mess up names just from reading. No, there we go. So yeah, try that. There you go. As Athela did, you might be able to just refresh the screen and that'll fix it for you a little bit here. I'm gonna be switching from multiple ones as we go here. So, all right, we got it to try this. As a matter of fact, let's go see it. Did it put it all? Oh, it did put it all in one. It says how the game works. And remember that part of what I asked it to do, and let me see if I can make that bigger for you to really see that too, considering this is a large screen here. Said how the game works, and it tells me. I told it that I like it step-by-step instructions, and I like things what's in there. Extending this game. Here's some ideas to extend it. Different types of monsters. Simple crawl. All right. So let's take this, copy that code, and let's go into our Visual Studio Code. Now, with VS Code, a couple things here is that I am using, you can see GitHub Copilot, and it's a whole set of its own tool bindings to learn, little shortcut keys if you want, but you don't even have to do that here. I'm going to make a new file, and we'll call this our dungeon. We can do other things. We can write other code. We can do something. And let's paste this in for now. All right. Now, when you're working with VS Code, okay? All right, and there's a reason I said, so do you remember the 3 S's again? The 3 S's were, right? Simple, specific, short, right? Simple, specific, short. Because the more code that AI writes, the greater the chance that it's going to hallucinate or it's going to write something incorrectly. It will, I mean, they give you a little warning, right? It says all the time right here, somewhere down here, ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. Right down there, it says, hey, I can make a mistake. All right. So, if it's all about context when you're using these tools here, and you can, so I'm using Copilot, and let me just point out here that that's GitHub's Copilot. Like I said, there are tons of these. Let's see. There's the docs, but their documentation is not too bad, but I was trying to see if I had meant to save like how much it cost you and set you back, but your organization might have it set up if you're already a GitHub organization. And you might be able to, have the enterprise version, which then you can, of course, with your agreement with Microsoft is, hey, don't train on my code. What's happening with me is any of this code, since I'm an individual, any of this code I have here is going to get trained, is going to be used for training for our GitHub Copilot. Now, let's just go back here for example real quick. Just how this sort of works in a little bit. One second. See, I'll be right there. If I were going to, let's see, the classic example. We'll just start putting some thing in here. There you go. If you watch it, you'll notice it adds this. Liam, thank you. I know Liam. How you doing? So, and then let's see. Bumsy, you had a question real quick. You have a hand. Is that a view? I want to throw it in the chat because audio is kind of locked at the moment. All right, let me continue. I'll catch it. If you put it in the chat there or you put it in the question and answer panel, I'll catch it in just a bit. There you go. All right. So that text that you see coming up there, it's called ghost text. And that ghost text, let's see if I can get it to come back. There we go. There you go. So that ghost text. So $19 a seat for Copilot. Yeah, we get corporate. It's about $20 a month. Plus, if you're paying for OpenAI, another $20. If you're paying, they start adding up. I've realized I was spending about $100 a month on various AI tools here. All right, so here's a classic that we ask people to do at a coding class. You say, okay, take Fibonacci series, right? And you notice it recognizes it. Why does it recognize this? It's not that it's psychic. It's seen it in training data somewhere. So as it's been building this out, as it's been putting this together here, and of course, if we want that, you'll notice that it says, all right, sure, you can accept tab, you can accept one word at a time, which is controlling the right arrow. See, so you can start building your code like this. I always thought that was kind of funny. Or you can just tab to the end and accept the whole thing. All right. Now, of course, I got an extra in there. That was me. All right. So far, all you've done is put in this little, okay, we made a function. We set up and we used a plugin to get it. And the plugin is the part that is the AI help, right? That's GitHub coming in and saying, all right, by looking at examples that were already out there and adding to this. Now, you'll notice as we keep continuing here, do you see the ghost text come up again? You'll also see this lovely little sparkle, and that's actually what they call it. They call it the sparkle. All right, but that ghost text as it comes up, tab is your friend. You also have control keys here, which is the left and right bracket, just above the enter key, where you can go through, or to accept just that word. It says, and it's interesting here. It's like, I didn't know what I was going to put here. Use the function. So you'll notice. All right. So when Copilot sees the, it's reading everything, including the comments, and you'll notice as soon as it saw this use the function, it assumed, oh, this. All right. Now here's where Copilot gets a little bit interesting here. So we said we got our 3 S's, right? We want it to be short, specific, simple. That's not the order I used. I said simple. I said specific. And I want it to be short. All right. So then those 3 S's combined with the next big important piece, context. So tools like Copilot, Tab 9, and like I said, I'll share a few others in here. We'll switch out and we'll kind of look at some of the differences in what they put together here. So you see how I have this one open. And without that open, so when you want information from the library, let's see if it'll be smart enough. Again, we're working live, so I might break things. Who knows? Probably break a lot of things here. I'm going to say, create a new dungeon. Let's see. Well, I don't want the game. I just want the dungeon. Game equals game. All right. So it's interesting. But now you see, here we go. So it found dungeon, it says game, all right? Game's not defined. My game's not defined in here either. There's my game, right? Define the game class. So we can ask it. Now I've got two things that are working here. Visual Studio Code has something called Pylance built in. I also use a tool called Prettier to keep it nice and formatted when we're doing like full stack web applications, things along those lines. But here, so let's try its quick fix. Let's add dungeon, say, fix using Copilot or explain using Copilot. Now there are shortcut keys for all these things here. Most commonly, I'm going to say, all right, I'll say fix using Copilot, see if Copilot's smart enough to figure out what's going on. Okay, so it says game's not defined. To fix the issue, you need to import the game class for the appropriate module. Say, but all right, so from game module, you notice it just made it up. Context, it knows that I need something called a game because I declared that way. I said create a new dungeon. All right, it says game. It sees this. It's not smart enough to grab it from over here. So we'll accept its term. And I'm going to show you, we'll look at some of the chat on this too. Right. You'll notice that new slash right there. So yet another tool in the whole Copilot arsenal. All right, so far we've seen that it's reading my code. It's looking at comments, right? It's looking at this other context. So it knew sort of that there was a game available. It got it wrong about what the name of the module should be. All right. Because again, it's generating this. It's hallucinating a bit. I told you, see, we're working live, so we're going to get a lot of fun mistakes here as we go through. And by the way, this is a completely different one off the top of my head here because I started with several examples. I can show you, it's not too impressive, but I can show you finished masterpieces that have come through, like working on some models that we were putting together for sentiment analysis for another class here, and student and I were having trouble with one, so we asked Copilot to help us find the problem with it, and it did actually find the problem. Didn't give a great solution, but it did find the problem, so we can walk through some of that for you to see here. Working live is always fun. But here's my comment. So the comment, you have a bunch of slash commands here that we can use also in chat. We'll see in just a moment. So you notice over here that I've got my little, I can chat with it in a second there. We'll get over to it in a moment. But that slash fix, all right, game not defined. Anytime you're commenting with this, you can accept it in place. You can move on to others. You can ask it for other choices as you go. I'm going to take what it had. We'll see what it did. So far, so bad. All right. Okay. So far, so bad. And we still have the issue of, all right, we don't really need fib anymore. Let's get rid of fib. We're just going to go through here. Take this away. All right, so let's see if we can fix this game module. It says import game module could not be resolved. And again, it's I like asking it to take its guess. All right, take its best guess. Try it for me. All right, so. And the magic key, by the way, is control in the period, which is going to start. So again, let's see if it can fix it. Checking if the module is installed. Thanks, view in chat. What we'll do is we'll get to run into the chat for us instead. You'll see it's got my whole, this is from an earlier example with the Flask server that I was putting together. I can walk through that one in a second here. As I said, I had a pre-built example, but went all that. All right, so you all know what I need to do. I need to take this from Dungeon. It can't make that connection. So they're good, they're not psychic. They're good, they're not psychic. Let's try. If we, so it's not going to replace you as a coder. I disagree with what the gentleman from NVIDIA said. He said, that he was saying that going into programming was, in the age of AI, pretty much he kind of doomed the profession. I completely disagree for now. Maybe okay, another year. I don't know at the pace, but for now. So we'll put in Dungeon. We'll fix Dungeon. We've got our new game. All right, so we can go in it and walk through these things here. There were some other I didn't see the questions go into the. thought there was. Okay, there we go. I missed a few there. All right. So let's try building something more useful. Actually, we could go and try this too. So the next thing on that context, you want any files that are associated with what, especially, are any of you, as they call them, full stack engineers, you do like React, MERN stack, mean stack, something like that. Anybody doing that one? You've got a lot of moving pieces there, right? So you've got, your JavaScript with your React front end, you've got your Express middleware, and you've got your, something Mongo probably in the back end, something like that. And all those parts there, if you are trying to solve a problem that has to, for your entire application, then having those files open for Copilot is the first step. The other one is things like this. Let's see if it'll help me here. So I can ask Copilot all sorts of things. Notice that I've selected ahead of time on this. And again, we're just, let's see, printing the dungeon, trying this run gameplay. Actually, interesting. Let's see what happens. Watch it break. There. Oh, look at that. Not too bad. With the moves and everything, you can see it down in my terminal. I gotta pull that up. So you can see. Enter move. There you go. All right. Ooh, you can't move in that direction. Can I move in this direction? You can't move in any direction. There we go. Enter move. There we go. All right. So the P. We moved down one. There we go. There's a monster in the way. We haven't put any combat system in here. We'll have to do that. We really want to get going with this. All right, let me kill this for the moment. Okay. And let's come back up for a second. All right, so far so good that we've got context by the files, but also by what you select. If you are working on a particular function, let's see, add my dungeon. Let's add, we've got play, print dungeon. This is not very well organized. Fight. Oh, there's our fight. Okay. Random monster. You defeated the monster. There we go. Find treasure. Look at this. We have all these methods defined. Don't have any option for using them in our generate positions. Print dungeon. There we go. Play. Wow, it's this. Enter move. Okay. Player health. There's player fight. There you go. We move to the monster. Says that it's supposed to fight and then not the monster. We'll see about this. So let's try it. Let's see if we can explain. Here's what we're going to add. Select all that. Oops, missed a piece. 60. There we go. You2. Okay, fight me on it. First day with the new mouse. You died. We'll ask it to explain this. All right. There we go. Part of a simple text-based dungeon game. The game is played in the dungeon represented by a grid. Play functions main game loop. There we go. All right. So you ever inherited somebody else's code? I do that quite often here. All right. So with Copilot, I can go through it. I can try to get a good explanation. Boy, that's, I said to follow the 3 S's. Its responses don't always follow the 3 S's. You notice these. So game check. See, after the play has moved, the game check. So I don't know if I trust this completely, but I'd follow through and see. Takes the play on each iteration. First prints the dungeon. We saw that. After printing the dungeon, the game asks the player for a move by calling built-in input function with a prompt. All right. Enter WASD. Move is passed to move. All right. So you'd have to, again, still be familiar. It's again, not psychic, but let's, take into mind that a couple things here. So we said the 3 S's, right? Then the context. And you're in charge of that. Part of it is giving it the files you need open. Part of it is selecting things for context. Then it's learning the commands that you have available to you. And you have things like fix, and you have things like explain. And the nice thing is if you get that little help pop up there and it's control, on I there, if you get this little pop up here, you can even ask it for what they are, and ask it for the commands. Now, all right, not too bad. I said part of this was going to be, I've only got roughly 45 minutes to an hour to look at a whole bunch of tools. We mentioned Copilot specifically, but there were others I wanted to show you just to kind of put this in perspective. If, for example, I'm just going to walk you through like one that I had here. Because again, working live is sometimes fun, but not so live. All right, let's see. So a couple things. If you do have access to GPT, then you can play a little game and you can create your own sort of, and calling it your own GPT, the better way to be is that you're adding custom instructions to this. So for example, you see that I have one called EduAssist. And EduAssist's job is I make stuff, right? See, I help create educational slides and lessons. Data analyst one, saying, so this is actually from ChatGPT on theirs. You can build on any of these. Cody is supposed to be for technical assistance here. Very good with architecture, not so great with code. But let me give you a little example of. All right. So this is a little conversation earlier going through and building out my application for using my students talking about a decision tree. So the scikit-learn, sklearn, see, so help me create a simple demo that shows a decision tree. Okay, so we went back and forth. We went, on this here is that we're going to do from scikit, make sure we've got this. Everything was installed. All right. So most of you probably played this a little bit. You tried it in, unfortunately named Copilot that has to do with Office, all right, which not necessarily has the same capabilities. All right, so we're going to try to do this in VS Code real quick. We'll see if it can do this here. All right, I'm going to just give it the same prompt, just start it out a little bit. All right, and just because I'm lazy, I'm going to copy and paste because again, I'm lazy. All right. VS Code, where'd you go? There you are. All right, let's get a new one. Let's close this folder. Yeah. Sure. Save it up. Something. Could have called it Fred. We'll go with that. All right. We're going to give it straight up. Create a simple demo. You go straight in here and say, and this is breaking my rules, right? My rules were, simple, right? Short, specific, not necessarily in that order, but right. The 3 S's again. I'm just like, okay, I did add, you notice though, I want to put one little thing in here. Do you see that I even use it as a descriptor? I use it as an adjective in my request often. I tell it, I want a simple this. I want a simple function for XYZ. I want a simple class to do this, because I can always expand it in further conversation with it, but I'll start with the simple and we build it up like Lego bricks, right? We start building from there. So it goes, here's a simple demo. We'll see what happens. All right, now as it goes through, we'll need a new, there you go, any predictions? Interesting. Oh, of course, the classic iris. So if anybody is familiar with any of the iris data set. Yeah, where's Iris? It's in here somewhere. There you go. There's Iris. Load Iris. See, so did it do anything super smart? No, it decided to go and read documentation. And that's the next thing I want you, if it's not documented out there for you, whoops, grab the wrong screen again. It's unlikely that it's going to do a great job of finding it. Yeah, this is a pretty standard setup here. Pulling in the data set, breaking it into doing our, train split, train test split. Now, what we can do, let's make a new file over here. Let's try my irises. Sure, save it right there. Okay, we'll see if it's smart enough. All right. So again, using our demo here, going through, we got a problem. Oh no, I got the yellow squigglies. And as far as I know, somebody correct me on this one here. I have a friend of mine that writes like books on these, and he actually wrote the Coding with AI for Dummies. There you go. And I love it. He refers to it, as far as we know, the official definition of these is yellow squigglies and red squiggly lines there. But I got some yellow squigglies here. All right. And again, we could ask, we could ask Pilot to do it, and Pilot says, okay, well, here's what you got to do. Import this. Sure. All right, import. Let's see, it's saying I can do the install first, and then I've got to do, oh no, see? All right, so as you go through here, oh, that even changed things. So there's it. See, live mistake. Put this right in the middle of where I was. Isn't that nice? So we're gonna undo that. Fix this at a time. Install. Second line. Well, what's interesting about these is often when you give it the comments for suggestion, it will often keep its suggestions in comment for you. So it's the little things that have taken some time to get used to. But, it, as far as a tool to help you get through this, worth the $19, I don't know. Liam, you'll have to ask Liam if it's worth the $19. On the next little bit, I showed you that I want to make sure there's some time for some other examples here. There's time for looking at other tools. So Copilot was one. The thing with Copilot is, it's Microsoft, it's GitHub, it's integrated into the whole ecosystem. I give it access to my GitHub public GitHub repos. It works very well. It intertwines with that. But let's take a look at some others here, just to flip, to a different profile. I'm going to show you, so Codium. If you're looking at a cheaper setup here, we're going to switch this out and close this up. Actually, let's close. Let's just make it. Next one. All right. With that, that's back to our dungeon. Make sure we're on Codium. Codium is running down here, successfully logged in. All right, so now Codium, and be careful with Codium, because there's Codium AI, different company, and there's Codium as the plugin. If you're looking for in Visual Studio, notice it says Codium AI coding autocomplete, not Codium AI, which is a whole different company that builds tests for you. So same idea with Codium. Codium's, the nice thing is, yeah, it's free, but what are you paying for? How you're paying for it is letting them look through all your code. All right. The quick, I'm going to give a little tour of these. Actually, we're running up to a quarter till, so I don't have as much time as I thought I did on all these here. There was an earlier question here. Let me open up a little bit here for some questions. One is, it's your experience, is your mileage will vary depending on whether you're doing this with Python, whether you're doing this with VS Code, whether you're doing this in PyCharm. See, I can get PyCharm to do the same thing. I had to go through and help me fix on this. This is PyCharm, and this is with Copilot installed as a plugin to it. is it looks very much the same thing. This was going through and doing some sentiment analysis. This was the one with the students there. So setting those up is going to vary. Setting up, obviously, different tool, different job for it. The next step, though, right? So the first step is just understanding how to talk to it. And really what this all boils down to, it's prompt engineering for it. It's prompt engineering. And, again, anything, it's setting up context. So let's do this. Let's add, since we've got Codium, and now there we go. So I wanted to see if there was any, Codium does it a little bit differently on the setup here, refactor, explain, generate docstring. So some of my favorite little things here, I tell it to generate the docstring. It says, all right, how's this? Does this look good for you? This is initialize a new instance. The constructor sets this. If I like it, we can copy it in, we can apply it. It will show you everything. It's a little hard to see in there. Sure, you want to see how with the DBA? All right, let's see. Let's do some. We need data though. All right, you are a DBA. I see a request. Let's see. So SQL. Well, let me show you a few. Hold on. One of them is actually just saw one this morning that I had not tried. The SQL expert. This one looked interesting. How do I optimize this SQL query? It would help me to have one. Explain the SQL error message. Suggest a database structure for my app. Okay. Help if I have a SQL query to put in. Don't have one off the top of my head, but we'll ask it. We'll ask it the question. We'll say, "What? Give me the query." Right. So that same, if you've got Copilot in here, let's just make a new query of some sort. Yeah, let's ask it for an example. There we go. Let's go back here. Simple. Let's add simple. Sample. Let's do Postgres. Or do you have a preference, Sohail? Are you Postgres? Are you MySQL? SQL Server. Okay, Microsoft. Man, it's been a while since I've touched Microsoft's TSQL transact. All right. Write a simple sample TSQL script to create a customers table first. We'll do that. We gotta have a customers table. All right. There you go. And that's pretty basic to begin with. All right, now, so if we were going to add something more to it, we're going to give it to it. We want to modify. So run the script there, compatible to create the customers table. Let's see, we need a orders table then too. Okay. I like this because it has the context window. I've done this before. Do the same for an orders table. Oop. And it's, because of the context, it's okay, fine, I'll create the orders table. So let's build up each of our tables. Let's see. Total amount. Yeah, that bothers me a little bit. There you go. There you go. Let's see if it's smart enough to refactor the orders table to allow for order details of menus. We'll see how smart it is. So it does. Okay, it got a little smarter. It said, okay, well, I'm going to create an order details table. All right, there you go. So we're working our way through our, our normal forms. We're gradually getting through there. So how it can't be done. So thanks for giving me something that completely I didn't have prepped at all. But we can now what remains to be seen is to put this into a tool, right? Put this into our SQL, manager or query manager or something like that. Give it a shot. I don't know, go try dbeaver because whatever you've got, whatever tool you've got there, set up the table. Let's see. We'd have to create our. I mean, on the surface, what do you think? So how on the surface so far, not too bad, but it remains to be seen. So that's the last little bit of things that I kind of want to give you here. There's in the course for Copilot, and I have to mention it for a little bit, we go into much more detail because there are other contexts one can set with Copilot. So for example, when I'm working here, I got to switch this back out again. All right, let's go. Let's see if it's managed profiles, switch it back to Copilot. Things that I can do. So for example, in the chat, you notice that I have this little pound thing. This is for context here. This is so I can set it to say, hey, look at the editor, look at a particular file before you answer me. Look at the selection, that's, it tends to it, or even something I've done in the terminal. So if I started like, a node server in the terminal and, hey, why can't I contest? Oh, absolutely. No, performance tuning. You mean that's the other end of it eventually. Yes, I've had it try to do optimization before, and for better or for worse. For SQL, it's pretty good at getting, following, COD's, 12 normal forms, and it goes through it and gradually gets, better and better on normalizing that database. For, Python, if I'm not careful, it tends to hallucinate libraries that don't exist. Or you notice, like, it kept saying import from game. I'm like, our game, what was it, game module or something like that? Like, I don't have a game module. What are you looking at? What I should have done to ask it how to fix that was come in here and say, hey, look at the editor and help me fix my import. So it's too late now because I'm already past that. Help me fix the imports. And that would take a look at all the files that are open and say, oh, okay, so here's what your issue is. The other thing that we didn't add to this is we could tell it to add, we mentioned explain, but there's quite a few more of those slash commands. So explain, I like setting up an API. I ask it to help me build an API, especially like when I'm working with Mongo and I'm trying, in Express, and I'm trying to say, okay, help me build an API so that I can talk to this thing here, and it will help me build the routes. Or Flask, it's helped me build routes out in Flask. Fix, we've seen new notebook. New notebook's actually kind of experimental. I made the mistake of showing you, hey, here's bringing it into Jupyter, but it has some trouble with Jupyter sometimes. It tends to break things. But one of my personal favorites is I can ask it for test and generate unit test or something along those lines. You can even talk to it by voice as you work here. Generate unit tests. Let's see if we ask it. Well, it helps if I have an open file. That would help, wouldn't it? Let's open that one. Let's open that one too. Come on. Oh, I already had it open. No. All right. Let's ask it to generate a unit test, and then we'll get some more. So part of that's actually what the course goes through is so Jazz, we do have a Copilot, a separate Copilot course. It's one day. It's actually open on the schedule. Let me kind of show that there. And then we go through a lot of exercises, much better step by step than what I've given you in this short little crammed lunchtime session here, where we do go through and we walk through, okay, here's step one. Let's do that so we can build an application with it. We also we have some pre-broken applications, and we ask the AI to help with it. Let me see if I can get it to generate my test too here. We'll say, okay, look at the editor and then generate some tests. There you go. Come on. Unit test for player. Okay. Going through. Usually bring this, I've got the font so large so that you can see it, that it's gonna make, there we go. Generate some positions, moves around, moves up, moves down, says it should be here afterwards. Okay. Let's start. There you go. Let's cruise along there. So let me leave you with this then, Jazz. We do offer, and by the way, here you go. I'll make here. If you need to get hold of me, this either proves I'm crazy or stupid. Feel free to send me So things that it's not particularly good at. All right. Well, that list could get very long. Let me, by the way, there you go. Yeah. Oh, cool. There you go. Liam, nice. Yeah. A game informed by a cat trying to find some wet food to eat. That's nice. Yeah, but and then Brad had this question about what should we watch out for that AI is not good at for coding, especially things it might seem to be good at but isn't. So for I can give specific examples. Authentication. We were building a MERN app and setting up so that we had user control on it. It suggested a completely non-existent, a lot of people use Passport or they use Okta or OAuth or something like that. Again, hallucinated. It set up it had me make a whole new separate authentication module and had me build it. And I'm like, no, hold up. Its suggestion was a little off the deep end. I think what it's not good at, and the better way to put this is it's not good if you leave it too open-ended. Fixing a specific problem. Thank you. There we go. That's what I was just about to go paste in there. The specific GitHub Copilot course that we do. That's one day. That's hands-on. You don't really have to be an expert in any particular coding. I mean, if you're already comfortable with a particular programming language, I think a lot of those examples are. I mean, there are a couple. They're Python. I think there's JavaScript in there. There's a mix from what I understand. I'll have to double check. But that's not the gist of that course. But it's the other thing I wouldn't use. The best practice for this. Let me kind of leave you with that, and then I will put a little bow on some things. Please feel free to get in touch with me. Please feel free to come visit us in a course. Please feel free to ask other suggestions. I usually take a day, 20 minutes or so in the morning to kind of respond to some of these things here. But I'm gonna leave you with some best practice here. That was our last little bit. So we had our 3 S's, right? So our 3 S's. But the other thing is, it's number one, it's just don't go for the full app. That's in defiance of my simple, right? Don't go for full app with your one little prompt like I did here. I'm showing you kind of bad examples from the beginning here. It just not. It will. The more you give it, right? The more that you ask it to create, the more AI code created, the more likely that you're going to have a mistake in that code, the more likely you're going to have hallucinations where it's just making stuff up in that code because it's doing its job, what it was built to do, which is tell you what you want to hear. So you said you want to hear how to write the code for an awesome application. It says, here you go. Here's awesome application code. No, it's not. Okay. All right. Number 2 here is that, whatever it gives you then, as much or as little. I mean, this should go without saying, but I tell my students this often, just review that. I mean, go through, run it, try it in a sandbox, do something. And then the last little bit is I'd recommend, like with Copilot specifically, I recommend to use, it has an inline, that's Control-I. If you do, when you're working in the code, I didn't really show that too well, but is to use the inline chat. It tends to be better because it looks at context about this. Inline chat, or prefer inline chat, has that rather than off to the side like I was doing. There you go. All right. But the other thing, just for the record too, is you can edit that chat log. You can go in and delete previous things. So like if it went down the wrong way, it would, started to go down one direction and you don't want it to go down that direction, you can go and delete that from the chat log. And essentially you're changing the context of the conversation. It's kind of, I wish I could do this with my spouse, that I could selectively forget things, or she claims I have a selective memory. So maybe. There you go, that you can go in and tell it to forget a certain part by just deleting that from the chat log. I'm running up into a hard stop here soon, but I would love to talk about this some more, and I'd love to have some more of these and maybe have a different example next time around. This one is very free form. I just figured let's just play with it. My suggestion is you can get the free Copilot, you can get the free Codium, account and try those, and with VS Code, which is also free, and go from there and get a taste of this. Obviously, if you can't put it on a work machine, put it on your own. And then the other one is come see us on June 17th, and we'll have fun. I got to do the sales pitch there, otherwise, marketing would be mad at me. Right, there you go. So
we would never be mad at you, Chris. You did
never ever. Okay, yeah, that's a
Never, ever.
that's a
I'll say it
rough
that
move.
way.
There you go. All right,
Yeah,
let me.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. Live
Sure.
coding, you're a brave man. I was like, anything can happen on live TV.
Yeah. I can stick around for a few here. You have a course on, yes, we do have a course on training foundation models or building, fine tuning on your own. Actually, let me get the main AI machine learning course listings. That's probably the best thing to do. There you go. If you go, I don't have it for Excel. I have it for WebAge, but it's the same. We're the same three companies. Yeah. And then there was, IntelliJ, is also, right. IntelliJ community. Right. Yeah, we didn't talk about Java for Java people here, but yeah, if you're working with their Copilot. If you, by the way, if you have a .edu email address, you can get GitHub Copilot for free. Just saying, if you're still a student, or your university doesn't take away that edu address like mine does. So feel free. I put my email address in there, which again proves I'm crazy or stupid. Feel free to get in touch with me, because I love doing this stuff and working with this. That link that you see in there is to our main WebAge course listings. A lot of these are being revamped right now, so we try to move as fast as OpenAI, and we're getting there, but slowly but surely. So
yeah, and we do have a whole new line of generative AI courses coming out with a learning map that'll be up around next week, and we'll probably broadcast that out on social media. And just I forgot to mention this at the very beginning, but this is being recorded, and as soon as we process it all, probably sometime tomorrow, when we send you your thank you for attending the webinar email, we'll have the URL for you, so you can watch Chris live code as many times as you want.
You can watch Chris fight with the AI live. There you go. There you go. Exactly. So no, I think overall it's a good thing, but it's a tool. That's what I want to leave you with. It's just another tool, and it's not some magic panacea. It's not going to fix everything for you, but it can help. Definitely, it can help. All right. Thank you all for coming by.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to spend it with us. And we hope to see you on the next webinar, which is actually, I think, a week from today on Microsoft Fabric. So yeah, that'll be a good one too. Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.